Hello and welcome to the Ridiculously Good VA Show with Tracy Daviero. If you are a virtual assistant or want to be one, this is the place to learn the tips and tricks you need to become a ridiculously good VA. I've been a part of the VA industry since 1998, and I'm excited to get to know you and help you build an amazing business. Let's go. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast that teaches you how to be a ridiculously good virtual assistant. Today I want to talk a little bit, straight talk. I want to talk about mistakes, big ones that other VAs have made, and how those mistakes have helped them become more resilient. Today's quote is from Sheryl Sandberg. Resilience is not about overcoming, but becoming. It's about finding yourself in the process. Creating resilience is a skill you want to get really good at. Business can be hard, and you need to make sure that you're giving yourself every advantage. Let's go. Every VA journey is unique. Yours is different than mine was, and mine is different than hers was. We try to learn everything we can, and yet still some things don't go the way we want them to, or at least the way we expected them to. There can be tough moments. There can be tough stretches. Your job is to figure out a way to get out of them and not repeat them again. Tough situations help us learn how to do things better. Let's talk about a few things today that might go wrong and how to fix them and focus on moving forward. First, a caveat. These examples have been gathered in the 14 years that I've been training and coaching VAs. They are not specifically issues that any of my VA clients had, although elements of them may be. And they are examples. I want you to understand that. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, so please don't think I'm breaking any confidentiality by sharing these examples with you. For the purposes of the examples, I will refer to all of the VAs as Jane. Number one, maintaining cash flow. Probably the number one issue, right? You have to be able to maintain cash flow in your VA business. Without money, you have no business. Jane took all the money her clients paid her and paid herself with it. When she got the money from the invoice, she took all that money and put it into her bank account. At the end of the year, Jane didn't have enough money to pay her taxes, so she had to use her line of credit to pay them, already incurring debt. Jane was also shocked by the increase in her web host fee, which went from $40 for the year to $150. Of course, when she signed up, she knew that the first year was a special rate, but she panicked when the renewal came through and immediately started looking for alternative web hosts to no avail. They're all the same. A conference came up in a nearby city that would have had so many of her ideal clients at it, but Jane didn't have the cash flow to pay for the $300 ticket, the rental car to get there, or the hotel bill for a couple of days, so she didn't go to the conference. But the return on investment would have been made back so easily by signing just a single client, and there were 1,000 of them at that event. The odds of getting more than one client at that event was enormous. The ROI was there, but the opportunity was missed. These are real scenarios for virtual assistants. It's so important to get a hold of your finances in business as soon as you can. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Begin with a budget. Know what your expenses will be and budget for them. Know how much you need to bring in to cover those expenses and pay yourself. Keep an emergency fund if you can to ensure stability when you lose a client or get sick or any other reasons, or even if you want to travel to a conference where you can get clients. Start small with your financial plan and build from there. Always be aware of what's coming in and what's going out and manage those things to the best of your ability. Create a budget and work with it. If you find that you're constantly struggling, you need to seriously look at your revenue. You may need to raise your rates, or you may need to just find new clients. Always try to bring more revenue in rather than cutting expenses too quickly. Struggling over something like an annual hosting fee of your website, honestly, is a nonsense struggle. And I talk to VAs about this all the time. So it's a common struggle, but it really is nonsense. It's a business expense that you have to pay once a year. And that second year is the regular rate. So when you do your budget, budget for that higher rate, even in the first year, even if you get that special deal. Don't try to be cutting something as simple as a website hosting plan 1 year into your business. It is not a good use of your time. Instead, focus on getting clients and pricing your services correctly. Very simple solution. Number 2 is handling client relationships. Jane worked with a new client who was, shall we say, very demanding. They paid her well, and they were referred to her by another great client, so Jane wanted to go above and beyond to produce for this client. It wasn't hard to do because the client was a micromanager in the worst way. They were very vocal, very direct, and even sometimes pretty rude. They had set extremely high expectations for their whole team, and team meetings were tough as she barked orders at people in an effort to get things done. Jane took the abuse because that's really what it was, and although she didn't like it, she did really like the money. This client would phone Jane and expect her to pick up at any time of day or evening, and if she didn't respond, she would leave a rude voicemail. The client figured if she was paying her VA $50 an hour, she better be available whenever she needed her. Now, little caveat here too, or a little background, this woman was a workaholic. She was a lawyer, actually, and she thought everybody else should be a workaholic too. But clients don't get to talk to you any way they want to. They are retaining you to do certain tasks for them at the very simplest, and you get to decide how they communicate with you, when you respond, when you deliver their work, and certainly how you manage your own schedule. You need to set very clear boundaries with all clients around all of these things and hold yourself and them to those boundaries. I say it all the time. You teach people how to treat you. And Jane was letting this woman walk all over her, so she didn't know any better. She just continued to do it. Jane struggled to do this with this client because, as I mentioned, she was paying her well and she had been a referral. It didn't matter if she knew someone. Jane fought back and was instantly fired from the team. Oh no! It was the best thing ever, and Jane never got treated like that again. She replaced her with another client within a week. A better client. Because there are always better clients out there, trust me. Be confident in your ability to work with your clients and know your value, and understand that walking away can always be a good choice. Next is overcoming burnout. Jane's VA business started off with a bang. A couple of great clients and a super networking community. She was providing excellent service for her clients, and the people around her knew it. Clients were singing her praises in the networking group, and other members of the group wanted Jane's help too. Jane said yes to everyone, and her business grew faster than she was prepared for, and she became overwhelmed. Jane was so busy with client work that she actually stopped going to the networking meetings that her clients were part of. She worked tirelessly because she had so much to do, and she had negotiated lower rates with the people in the group because they were her friends. She had set her rate, but when it came to negotiating in person, she always caved and agreed to a lower rate. So not only was Jane really busy, but she wasn't making the money that she had planned. She couldn't get help from subcontractors because, frankly, she couldn't afford to pay any. Enter burnout. Overcommitting, especially if you aren't making the money to compensate for it, can be a terrible thing in business. You're going to compromise your self-care, communication, and balance when you enter burnout, and it can be really hard to get out of. If you drop deadlines, clients aren't going to trust you anymore. If you dump your networking community, they're going to lose that connection with you. Or in fact, you're going to lose it with them because they're still going. Jane got burned out and she just chose to hide from the world. She lost many clients and much revenue. She knew she could get new clients. She had before, but now she had a lack of self-confidence that wasn't there before when she was so busy. The road back was a lot harder than the road she had initially taken to get there. Always be checking in with yourself and be true to the business person that you know you are. Set your VA rates properly and make sure to charge clients properly. Everything you do for them is billable to them. Everything. Bring in clients at the correct pace. Document your systems and processes and use them. Build your VA business with the intention of bringing in support, even if you never do. If you have the revenue to support, you're going to be much better off. And review your workload often and make sure that you're working efficiently on your own and identify areas where automation or assistance might benefit you. And finally, business failure rebound. It's not fun to fail. Nobody likes it. I don't like it. Certainly, no one likes to share the details with anyone if they do fail. We prefer to keep our failures secret, don't we? Jane signed a big client, a very big client. She didn't really want the client, but they had been a referral and the payday was the largest she had ever made. It was a 4-month project, similar to projects she had managed for clients before. But she didn't know this client. She had never worked with her before. She had a cursory 15 or 20-minute discovery call, identified she could certainly help with the project, and the client definitely had the budget, so she said yes. Imagine signing the biggest client ever and not really scoping them out enough. Jane got to work and immediately realized that the client was not organized at all. Fine, she thought, I can fix the project system. She actually took on extra work to make her contract go more smoothly, but this wasn't work that was included in the scope of work in the contract. As the project progressed, Jane was doing her part and then slowly got handed the parts of several other team members who were not as experienced as Jane was. Again, she took the work because it facilitated her getting her stuff done. The project just never got on the right footing, but that didn't matter because the event was approaching and everything needed to get done. The client and Jane clashed about many details, and Jane realized that this was simply not going to work out. She had 2 months left to go on her 4-month contract. She had earned half the large payday, and she was spending way more time than she had planned helping the client. Her other client work declined as she had so much less time than usual. Her regular clients were noticing and were letting her know that they noticed. If she left the team of the big project, she would have been a failure, and she would have left the woman stuck. But if she stayed, she would disappoint her clients, and that would remain after this event took place. So she quit. She chalked it up to scheduling, even though it was so much more than that, and it was more the client's issue than hers, but she took it as a business failure. Jane lost not just that big client, but the respect of some of the people in the community they both networked in. She also lost a couple of her smaller clients who got frustrated with how busy her schedule had gotten, fully expecting that this could be a recurring experience as she continued to grow her VA business. Although it feels devastating at the time, we need to be resilient and go out and find that new client and do things differently moving forward. Jane put in place a new vetting procedure and onboarding process that helped her show the client what their responsibilities are when she does big projects like this. Being able to identify problem territory before you approach it is key. This last one is me. This happened to me when I signed that client on to run a very large virtual conference for them. The details are unimportant, but the lesson is there. I put in some non-negotiables to my process after that client. I had firm lead times, communication boundaries, and the client had to have certain foundations already set up, like a CRM and an email client and an e-commerce system, before I ever helped them do anything. Trying to do it all at once while launching an event was nearly impossible, and the only one with the expertise to do it was me. So I did it. But they need to lay the groundwork first. I turned down many virtual conferences after that if they didn't have their foundations in place already. I had been worried, yes, about losing the revenue, but I was more worried about my reputation in my chosen networking community. What I realized is that putting these non-negotiables in place moving forward would help me do that. Never mind what happened with this client. It's a good choice, and it's a result of rebounding from a failed experience. I'm going to leave it here for today, mainly because that's enough. I don't like talking about negativity, but failure will happen and things will go wrong, and it's how you bounce back from those failures that will help you grow in your VA business. Obviously, we hope nothing ever goes wrong, but sometimes it does, and we need to handle it. Learning to deal with things in a professional manner without letting one walk all over you is resilient. It's the much better way to be. What have you experienced that has made you feel like throwing in the towel, or running away to hide, or dumping a client, or even just giving you stress of any kind? Fix it and move on. That's the advice. Jane says you can do it, and I agree with her. You deserve everything you dream of. Let's circle back to today's quote by Sheryl Sandberg. Resilience is not about overcoming, but becoming. It's about finding yourself in the process. Staying in business long term, which is our goal, means building that resilience. And it's not about overcoming things, really. It's about finding yourself as a business person, not just a VA, someone's helper, but a bona fide expert in helping others. That's you. Seek out support if you can't do it on your own. It will be money well spent. You can do this. I know you can do this. I can help. It's time. I'm here to help. It's the only reason I'm here at all is to help you become a ridiculously good virtual assistant. But it's you who has to take that first step. I've helped hundreds of VAs who are stuck at moving through private coaching, my monthly mastermind group, The Virtual Circle, my group coaching program, 50K Bootcamp, and my self-study trainings like my Getting Started as a VA program, my monthly email membership, the Virtual Toolkit, and more. I have so many ways that I can help you. If you are ready to get my help, let's connect on a cut to the chase call. You can book yours at yourvamentor.com/chase. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Ridiculously Good VA Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more great resources for your VA business, visit my website at yourvamentor.com. I'll see you back here next time.